Have you ever felt like you're standing on the edge, ready to throw in the towel? Like no matter how hard you try, the weight of everything is just too much? Let me tell you something. You're not alone. We've all had those moments where giving up feels like the only option. But here's the twist. That moment, the one where you feel like you've got nothing left, that's the same moment where your breakthrough could be just one step away. Sounds bold, right? But stick with me, because today we're talking about the lessons that can keep you strong when you're this close to giving up. These aren't your run-of-the-mill motivational cliches. This is about real, practical insights that will help you dig deep and find strength you didn't even know you had. So, if you've ever wondered how to keep going when the odds feel stacked against you, keep watching. By the end of this video, you'll have tools to turn that breaking point into your turning point. Let's dive in. Number 1. Burn the safety net. Here's a question for you. What if your backup plan is the very thing holding you back? Sounds counterintuitive, right? But hear me out. We've all been taught to play it safe, to have a plan B, a fallback, a cushy safety net for when things go south. And sure, it sounds responsible. But what if I told you that safety net is quietly strangling your potential? Now, you might be thinking, wait, isn't it smart to have a backup plan? Isn't that how successful people prepare for the unexpected? Yes, I get it. That's exactly what I thought too. But let's get real for a moment. Think about the last time you wanted something badly. A promotion, a creative project, or maybe starting your own business. You felt that fire in your belly, right? Now, imagine how much stronger that fire would burn if failure simply wasn't an option. No, if this doesn't work, I'll just do X. No soft landing, just you and your goal, with zero room for hesitation. Scary? Absolutely. Effective? Even more so. We've all been there. You set out to chase something big, but in the back of your mind, you're comforting yourself with, well, if this doesn't work out, at least I have insert plan B here. And before you know it, that tiny voice of doubt grows louder, whispering, why push so hard? There's always that other thing. You start pulling back, just a little at first, but enough to kill the momentum. It's like trying to swim with one foot still touching the shore. Here's where the bold idea comes in. Burn the safety net. Let it go. Make your goal your only option. Why? Because when you've got no way out, you're forced to give it everything you've got. There's something about knowing you've got no escape route that makes you think sharper, hustle harder, and dig deeper. It's like cornering a wild animal. Instinct takes over, and you become unstoppable. Let me tell you a quick story. A friend of mine, Sarah, had been stuck in a corporate job she hated for years. She dreamed of starting her own bakery, but she always said, maybe someday. Then, one day, her company announced layoffs, and Sarah was on the list. She panicked at first, but then she realized this was her moment. She burned the safety net. No applying for another corporate job, no waiting for the perfect timing. She dove headfirst into her bakery dream. Fast forward 2 years, and she now runs one of the most successful bakeries in her city. She admitted to me once, if I hadn't been forced to let go, I'd still be in that miserable office. This isn't about recklessness or ignoring responsibilities. It's about committing fully and wholeheartedly. Burning the safety net doesn't mean you can't adapt or pivot. It just means you're not giving yourself the easy way out. It's about telling yourself, I am all in and I will figure this out no matter what. Think about it. When you remove the fallback, you're not just chasing success, you're claiming it. You're saying to yourself, this is worth it, I am worth it. And that kind of determination, it's unstoppable. So the next time you're tempted to keep one foot in the door of comfort, ask yourself, what would happen if I burned the safety net? It might be terrifying, but trust me, sometimes the boldest leap leads to the greatest flight. Number 2, go public or go home. Here's the thing about goals. They thrive in the spotlight, but wilt in the shadows. That dream you've been quietly nursing, the one you're too afraid to say out loud in case you fail. Yeah, it's time to drag it out of hiding. Scary? Absolutely. But here's the twist. Keeping your goals private might be the very reason you're stuck. I know what you're thinking. Why would I risk telling people only to fall flat on my face? Trust me, I've been there. It's tempting to keep your ambitions locked away, safe from judgment and criticism. But let's be honest, when you only whisper your dreams to yourself, it's all too easy to back out when things get tough. No one knows, right? No accountability, no awkward explanations, but also no fire under you to make it happen. We've all done it. You decide to start working out, maybe even buy the gym membership, but you don't tell a soul. A few weeks in, life gets busy, and suddenly the gym bag starts gathering dust in your car. You know the type of cycle I'm talking about. Big intentions, zero follow-through. Now imagine if on day one you posted, "I'm committing to 3 workouts a week for the next 3 months. Hold me to it." Think you'd quit so easily? Not likely. Here's the unconventional strategy. Go public. Declare your goal to your friends, family, or better yet, social media. Why? Because when you go public, you add a layer of accountability that your private thoughts just can't provide. It's not about seeking approval or applause. It's about creating stakes. Suddenly, it's not just you who knows about your dream, it's everyone. And when people start asking, "Hey, how's that thing you're working on?" you'll feel that gentle pressure to keep going. I tried this myself once, and it was a game changer. A few years ago, I decided I wanted to write a book. For months, I kept it to myself, tinkering with ideas, but never committing. Then, on a whim, I announced it publicly. By this time next year, I'll have a completed manuscript. Did I feel like throwing up after I hit post? Absolutely. But you know what? That single post lit a fire under me like nothing else. Every time I felt like quitting, I'd remember how many people were watching, waiting to see if I'd actually pull it off. And I did. Yes, I know this approach comes with risks. What if you fail? What if people laugh or judge you? Here's the thing. Most people are too wrapped up in their own lives to care as much as you think. And the ones who do pay attention, they're more likely to root for you than to tear you down. Plus, even if you stumble, you'll gain something valuable: courage, experience, and the knowledge that you dared to put yourself out there. This isn't just about chasing goals. It's about reclaiming your boldness. It's about stepping into the light and owning your ambition unapologetically. When you go public, you're not just committing to the goal, you're committing to yourself, to the belief that your dreams are worth the risk of vulnerability. So here's my challenge to you. Take that goal you've been quietly keeping to yourself and say it out loud. Post it, share it, shout it, whatever it takes to make it real. Because once you've gone public, there's no going back. And that's where the magic happens. Number 3, weaponize your anger. Here's the thing, anger gets a bad rap. Everyone's always telling you to calm down, let it go, or don't let it control you. But what if I told you that anger, that fiery, frustrating emotion, isn't your enemy, it's your secret weapon? Surprised? Stay with me on this. We've all felt it. That surge of frustration when someone disrespects you, when an opportunity slips through your fingers, or when life just keeps throwing punches. You know that boiling sensation in your chest, the one that makes you want to scream or slam a door. Yeah, that's the one. Most people tell you to suppress it, but I'm here to tell you to lean into it. Not recklessly, strategically. Now, you might be thinking, how can anger possibly help me? Isn't it destructive? Sure, anger can be destructive, but only when it's mismanaged. The truth is, anger is energy, raw, unfiltered, and potent. When you harness it correctly, it can fuel you, push you and drive you toward things you never thought possible. Think about it. Have you ever been so mad that you suddenly found the motivation to prove someone wrong? That's what I'm talking about. Let me give you a real-world example. A friend of mine, Alex, had been overlooked for a promotion at work. Twice. He was fuming, pacing his living room, ready to send a fiery resignation email. But instead of burning bridges, he weaponized his anger. He poured it into late nights building a portfolio that would make him undeniable. When his company still didn't recognize his worth, he took that same portfolio and landed a better job at a competitor, one that doubled his salary. That anger didn't destroy him, it transformed him. Here's why this works. Anger sharpens your focus. It clears out the noise and zeroes in on the problem. It fuels your resilience, making you push harder when others might give up. The key is channeling it. Instead of lashing out, pause. Feel the heat of your anger, acknowledge it, and then ask yourself, what can I do with this energy to move forward? I know this might sound counterintuitive or even a little aggressive, but think of it this way. When life feels unfair, anger reminds you that you care. It's a signal that something needs to change. Whether it's standing up for yourself, proving your worth, or finally tackling that goal you've been putting off, anger can be the spark you need to act. This isn't about becoming combative or volatile. It's about reclaiming control. It's about channeling that fiery emotion into productive action. When used wisely, anger doesn't make you reckless. It makes you powerful. So the next time you feel anger bubbling up, don't shove it down. Harness it. Let it remind you of your strength, your passion, and your ability to fight for what you deserve. Because this isn't about losing your cool, it's about finding your fire. Weaponize your anger and watch yourself turn obstacles into stepping stones. Number 4, quit. Temporarily. Here's a wild thought. What if quitting isn't the enemy? What if, instead of relentlessly pushing through every obstacle, the most powerful move you could make is to step away? Not forever, just temporarily. I know, it sounds counterintuitive. We're told to never give up, to grind through the pain, to keep showing up no matter what. But let me ask you this. What's the point of persistence if you're too burned out to appreciate the victory? You've been there, haven't you? Working on a project that felt endless, chasing a goal that no longer inspired you, or sticking to a plan simply because you should. You tell yourself to keep going, even though every fiber of your being is screaming for a break. And let's be honest, how much progress do you actually make in that state? When you're running on fumes, the quality of your effort nosedives. But quitting? That feels like failure, doesn't it? Here's the truth. Sometimes the best way to win the war is to retreat from the battle just for a moment. This isn't about giving up. It's about creating space. Space to breathe, to think, to recalibrate. When you quit temporarily, you're not walking away from the goal, you're walking toward clarity. You're giving yourself permission to pause and come back stronger. Let me share a story. A friend of mine was building a side business while juggling a full-time job. For months, she poured every ounce of energy into it, sacrificing sleep, weekends, and even time with her family. But no matter how hard she worked, she felt stuck, uninspired, and completely drained. Finally, she did the unthinkable. She quit temporarily. She closed her laptop, took a month off, and spent time doing things she loved, with no guilt. When she returned to the business, she had fresh ideas, renewed energy, and, most importantly, a sense of joy she hadn't felt in ages. That month off didn't slow her down, it catapulted her forward. Why does this work? Because stepping back lets you see the bigger picture. When you're in the trenches, it's hard to think creatively or even rationally. Your brain needs rest to solve problems and make connections. Taking a break isn't about avoiding the hard work. It's about setting yourself up to do it better. I know what you're thinking, but what if I lose momentum? What if I never come back? That's the beauty of quitting temporarily. You set a deadline. You don't just abandon the goal, you make a plan to return. And here's the best part. When you do come back, you'll find yourself approaching the work with a renewed sense of purpose. This is about trusting yourself, trusting that taking a step back doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're smart. It's about reclaiming your energy, your creativity, and your drive. Imagine what you could accomplish if you stopped dragging yourself forward and started moving with intention. So, if you're feeling stuck, uninspired, or downright exhausted, I challenge you to quit, temporarily. Take a step back, recharge, and give yourself the gift of perspective. Because sometimes, quitting isn't the end of the journey. It's the reset button you need to cross the finish line. Number 5. Embrace the worst-case scenario. What if I told you the best way to overcome your fears is to walk straight into them? Not to avoid them, not to tiptoe around them, but to fully embrace the absolute worst-case scenario. Sounds insane, right? Why on earth would anyone want to entertain their darkest, most stressful thoughts? But here's the thing. When you face your fears head-on, something incredible happens. They lose their power. They shrink from this overwhelming, all-consuming force into something manageable, something you can handle. You know that feeling. You're lying awake at night, running through every what-if your brain can conjure. What if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if this doesn't work out? It's like your mind is a horror movie director, spinning scenes of disaster and doom. And you're stuck in the front row, unable to look away. We've all been there. The fear of the unknown keeps us trapped in a cycle of anxiety and hesitation. But here's a wild idea. What if you stopped running from those fears? What if you invited them in, sat them down and said, "All right, let's see the worst you've got"? This isn't about catastrophizing or wallowing in negativity. It's about taking the sting out of fear by dragging it into the light. Fear thrives in the shadows, but when you confront it, it starts to lose its hold. I learned this lesson the hard way. A few years ago, I had to make a massive career decision, one of those make-or-break moments. The stakes felt sky-high, and the what-ifs were relentless. What if I failed? What if I couldn't recover? The anxiety was paralyzing. Then, almost out of desperation, I decided to try something different. I sat down with a notebook and wrote out my worst-case scenario in painstaking detail. I pictured the failure, the fallout, the embarrassment. And then I asked myself one simple question. If this happens, can I survive it? Spoiler alert, the answer was yes. Would it be painful? Sure. Would it take time to recover? Absolutely. But when I broke it down, I realized the worst-case scenario wasn't as catastrophic as my imagination made it out to be. I wouldn't die. I wouldn't be left with nothing. And that realization, it set me free. The beauty of embracing the worst-case scenario is that it forces you to confront the reality of your fears, not the exaggerated version your mind creates. It gives you clarity and, oddly enough, a sense of control. Once you've faced the worst, you can start building a plan. Okay, if this happens, here's what I'll do. Here's how I'll recover. Here's how I'll move forward. Suddenly, the fear isn't this untouchable monster. It's a problem with a solution. This isn't about inviting failure or being reckless. It's about recognizing that fear is a part of life, but it doesn't have to dictate your choices. By embracing the worst-case scenario, you're reclaiming your power. You're telling fear, you don't scare me anymore. So the next time you're faced with a big decision and the what-ifs start piling up, try this. Visualize the worst-case scenario. Break it down, step by step. Ask yourself if you can survive it. And then, when you realize you can, take the leap. Because the real question isn't, what if I fail? It's, what if I never try? Number 6. Flip the script. Make it about them. Here's a thought that might surprise you. Most of the time, the solution to your problem isn't about you. I know that sounds counterintuitive, right? We're always told to focus inward, to prioritize our goals, to ask ourselves, what do I want? But what if the best way to win someone over, to make progress, or even to just find peace in a tricky situation was to make it about them instead? Stick with me here. It's simpler and far more powerful than it sounds. We've all been there. Maybe you're in a meeting, pitching your ideas to a group, and you can just feel the disinterest radiating from the other side of the table. Or you're trying to explain to a friend why their constant lateness drives you nuts, and instead of listening, they get defensive. It's frustrating, right? You're putting yourself out there, trying to be honest and clear, and it's like you're speaking into the void. You walk away thinking, why don't they get it? But here's the hard truth. They're not going to get it until they feel seen. Humans are wired to care about their own perspectives first. It's not selfish. It's just how we're built, and the mistake we often make. We try to solve things by doubling down on our point of view instead of stepping into theirs. So, here's the strategy. Flip the script. Make it about them. This doesn't mean abandoning your needs or turning into a people pleaser. It's about using empathy as a tool to connect and ultimately get what you need. Ask yourself, what's driving their behavior? What do they want? How can I frame this in a way that resonates with them? I once had a coworker who consistently shut down my ideas during brainstorming sessions. It was maddening. Every time I spoke up, they'd find some nitpicky reason to dismiss what I was saying. My first instinct was to fight back, to defend my ideas harder, but that only made things worse. Our meetings turned into debates, and nothing got done. Then one day, I tried something different. Before pitching my next idea, I asked them for their thoughts on the problem we were trying to solve. I really listened, acknowledged their perspective, and then positioned my suggestion as a way to build on their ideas. The change was almost immediate. Instead of shutting me down, they actually leaned in and engaged with what I was saying. Why did it work? Because I made it about them. By showing I valued their input, I opened the door to collaboration instead of competition. It wasn't about manipulating or winning the conversation. It was about creating a space where both of us felt heard. This isn't just about work, by the way. It works in relationships, friendships, even those awkward run-ins with strangers. The next time you're in a heated discussion or trying to convince someone of something, pause and ask yourself, how can I connect this to what they care about? How can I meet them where they are? It's a simple mindset shift, but it can transform the dynamic completely. This strategy isn't about sacrificing your needs. It's about recognizing that true connection comes from mutual understanding. And when you make it about them, something magical happens. They're far more likely to make it about you in return. So, flip the script. Make it about them, and watch how everything changes. Thank you so much for watching. I truly hope this video gave you the insights and strength you need to keep going, even when things feel impossible. If you found this valuable, don't forget to hit that like button. It helps more than you know. And if you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join this community of resilient, unstoppable individuals. Do you know someone who might need a little extra encouragement right now? Share this video with them. It could be exactly what they need to hear. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one lesson or moment that has helped you stay strong when you were about to give up? Your story could inspire someone else who's struggling. Remember, even when it feels like you're at your lowest, you have more strength in you than you realize. This is your story, and it's not over yet. stay strong, stay hopeful, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep believing in yourself.